If everyone would live like us, we would need 5 planets to support ourselves, and the number is growing by the second. We all belong to the consumer class. A consumer is defined as someone who's able to buy goods and services beyond their basic needs. In the next 30 years, the number of consumers is expected to double. At first sight, it seems good that more and more people are able to afford a wealthy lifestyle. But there are many negative side effects. The way our consumer society is working is not sustainable, and therefore a main reason for the pollution of the earth and the depletion of resources. We are almost working as a linear system that transforms natural resources to waste. I'm Katharina, and as you just heard, sustainable development and climate change is sort of my thing. Otherwise, I'm obsessed with traveling, the outdoors, and oceans. So, combining all those interests, I had the chance to sail across the Atlantic and back with a traditional sailing ship. All of this might sound a little bit like Greta, I know, and I already have that nickname. But no worries, I'm here voluntarily, not sent by her. I'm not here to blame you, but rather to give you a small glimpse of the aspects of sustainability outside of our small, privileged world. So, what does sustainability even mean? Many only think of climate change when it comes to that word, but it has a much broader meaning. The UN defines sustainability as the ability to meet the needs of the present without compromising future generations to meet their own needs. This comes to effect on the environmental level, but also on the economic and social level. First of all, I would like to address the problem of plastic in the ocean. Again, yes, since the problem clearly hasn't been solved yet. The sea seems eternal when you let your eyes drift over it. On one hand, because of its huge expanse. On the other hand, because the blue waves never seem to change. It seems completely independent and untouchable by anyone or anything. However, if we take a closer look, we even see that humans have left their marks there. Currently, approximately 8 million tons of plastic enter the ocean every year. That's enough to line every foot of our coast. As I sailed across the Atlantic, I started to get more and more concerned about this issue and felt the need to raise awareness. Producing waste, throwing it in a garbage can and then forgetting about it is our daily habit. We hardly realize how much waste we create and how much of that ends up in the natural environment. Most of the beaches we know are clean and nothing makes us automatically aware of the pollution of the earth. I've always tried to be conscious, like Greta, but the real alert in my mind went off when I actually saw it right in front of me. We did a garbage collection activity on the San Blas Islands in the Caribbean. We decided to set ourselves a time limit and collect as much rubbish as possible on only one of the islands. So, 30 people, 4,000 square meters, 1 hour. Our outcome? 30 big sacks of rubbish. And that didn't mean we were done. But well, the time was over, and the limited space on our ship obligated us to stop. The San Blas Islands are located off the coast of Panama and are only inhabited by an indigenous tribe called Kuna. They live in small, self-built huts, sleep in hammocks, and only eat what they find on the island. If they need other supplies, they have to go to the mainland and cover the way there with a dug-out canoe. Normally, each island is only inhabited by one family. So the whole tribe is spread over hundreds of gorgeous islands. All the rubbish that we found could not be from them. There was no way. We were sure of that from the very beginning. And it was proven to us. We found all sorts of bottles, tubes, and packages. A lot of the prints were washed off, but some survived the long way from, well, countries like Germany or the US. We found sunscreen and shampoo bottles from German brands, Coke cans with American selling addresses, and many other objects that proved the wealthy origin. The garbage is washed up from distant countries. Most of it definitely not from the people here. Often, when one hears about this topic, the harm it causes animals is also emphasized. I would like to address it as well. But from my personal viewpoint, there's a huge difference between hearing about it and actually seeing it live in front of you. While collecting the trash, we found a dead fish wrapped in a fishing net. Those images are shocking enough on TV, but in real life, they're worse. We took the fish with us and cut it open to find out about the actual reason for its death. Our assumption was right. A small plastic piece cut open its stomach from the inside. We couldn't completely identify the object, but it just looked like a convenient plastic piece of our everyday life. Also, on one of our diving trips in the Caribbean, we spotted a young turtle wrapped in a plastic band, unable to free itself. If she had continued to grow inside the obstacle, she would have developed a deformed shell, and her survival chances would have been very, very small. However, she was lucky. We took her to a local university, where she was freed from the plastic and equipped with a tracker. We then released her back into the ocean, and hopefully she will never get caught in plastic ever again. Sometimes, as I stood on the lookout of our ship, I saw garbage floats passing us by in the middle of the ocean. Even out there, we encountered plastic carried away by ocean currents. But as it didn't happen that often, and besides that, the water seemed clear and clean, I wondered if the situation was really that bad. But the real problem can't even be seen. Only 15% of the plastic is floating around freely. The rest settles at the bottom of the ocean. As mentioned earlier, we now have an approximated amount of 100 to 150 million tons of plastic floating in the ocean. And more is constantly being added. Some of the pieces take several centuries to dissolve, and even then, invisible microplastics can remain. Every time we wash our polyester-based clothes, we wash some microplastics into the ocean. By finding out more about it, and even realizing and seeing it while testing the water, we all felt a little more guilty and started to think about our washing habits. We even built our own filters that should stop the microplastics from entering the ocean. But that was only us, a very small group of highly conscious people. How can it be that our daily behavior leads to the extinction of a variety of animals? The animals I mentioned only serve as a metaphor, or more accurately, a warning of how humans will soon be affected. It's already well known that plastic microbeads enter the food chain through fish that then pass them on to humans. So yes, humans are consuming more and more plastic through animals. But we're also consuming the toxins absorbed by the plastic through our water and our sea salt. The injustice of our consumer society, our throwaway culture, and plastic pollution is highly proven by scientific evidence. But often, facts need to become feelings in order for social change to occur. Every person has the right to access an environment free of plastic, toxins, and other things associated with our improper disposal. If we want to do something about it, it is not enough to rely on activists, and also not enough to fish plastic. We have to prevent the plastic from going into the ocean. Do you use your reusable water bottle and coffee mug? Do you use your reusable shopping bag every time you go to the supermarket? Do you remember saying, "No straw, please," when ordering a drink? Good for you, then you're part of the solution. Now, do you own a fleece vest or throw? Do you own sportswear or other synthetic clothing items and just wash them normally? well then, there's also a lot of room for improvement. Most of us here grew up in a privileged country with a certain financial security. For me, this security was one of the reasons why I started thinking about the environmental issues facing our everyday life. I didn't really have many other big things to worry about, and I simply had the time to cook vegan recipes, search for hours and hours through thrift shops, and go to the package-free shop instead of the cheap supermarket next door. I even had time left to make posters for Friday mornings. Before COVID, of course. In many other countries, this financial security is not the norm, though. They have to worry about their food every day. They have the risk to lose their job every morning. And they can't even speak these words out loud without being punished. One of the countries where this occurred to me was Panama. However, for some reason, when it comes to plastic regulations, they're far ahead of us. Single-use plastics are completely banned, and on top of that, everybody has a surprisingly high consciousness, which they proudly present to all the tourists coming into the country. Here in Europe and in the US, we dispose our trash and forget about it. But it doesn't disappear afterwards. Ideally, it is recycled or burned. But still, far too much ends up in the natural environment. Honestly, we all have to admit that there's certainly a piece of plastic floating in the ocean right now that originated with us. Not on purpose, of course. We all know that it's bad to throw away plastic in inconvenient places and directly pollute the environment. But even the plastic that goes into our system is not saved from the sea. Germany and other first world countries ship their garbage to other, mostly poor countries with a poor waste management, where it is supposed to be burned or recycled. But what happens on the way there or in the country doesn't go on Germany's record anymore. So our record stays clean. Also, big companies just randomly decide to make something that can only be used once out of material that exists forever. Often then, the myth of recycling is seen as a solution. But anyone who's thought seriously about the issue would realize that recycling could never ever handle the amount of plastic surrounding our everyday life. Only by stopping the production of single-use plastic can this crisis be addressed. A lot of that is not visible in our everyday life, but I promise you, when you see the plastic on beautiful beaches, in the middle of the wide sea, and inside innocent animals, you will realize that the plastic hasn't simply disappeared after being off our screen, and for sure shouldn't be forgotten. So, how is all of this fair? I get quite sad while talking about it. But being sad doesn't help anyone. Even if Greta wants us to feel the fear she feels every day. I quote, "I don't believe that this anger is going to help anyone, nor our planet." So, after all these experiences, and much more, like walking through ankle-high plastic, crunching like rice, I could not understand how people can see plastic pollution as a reasonable but small problem mentioned in the same breath as climate change. Of course, both disasters have a lot to do with each other, but there's a key difference. Plastic pollution is not as complicated as climate change. There aren't any trash deniers, at least not that I've heard of. We don't have to remake our entire planet's energy system to do something about it. For us, the best step is to take a closer look at our consumption. Do I need microplastics in my cosmetics? Doesn't water out of a glass bottle taste better anyways? And isn't using glass plastic even a form of showing consciousness and responsibility to others? I think it looks way more elegant. So, and practice. I know we're humans. We'd like to engineer away the problem like a magic pill to lose weight or live forever. That's not how it works. But another thing humans like is a simple instruction that we can follow. So for me, a simple proposal to develop a better behavior towards our oceans. Maybe some of you already know Code Check. But for those who don't, take in the proposal, listen to me, and give it a try. It is a free app that provides information about microplastics, chemicals, and other toxins in our cosmetics and our food. All we have to do is scan the QR code of a product, and it gives us the bad and good sides of it. We all use our phones all the time anyways, so why not in a useful time the next time we go to a drugstore? It is only beneficial for us, for the climate, and also, well, for our own health. The app also gives you the opportunity to add products and list their ingredients, which is helpful to other users. So yeah, just give it a try, download it, by searching up or scanning the QR code behind me. Even if it is one more thing to think about while going to a shop, I think it's worth it. Give it a try. The app can also be a daily reminder to change our consumption habits and make more sustainable and ethical choices. So, I asked you again to rethink your actions. It's not that hard. All we have to do is stop putting bad stuff into the ocean. And then, at a bigger scale, it's only a matter of building the necessary structures and institutions. Ideally, before the oceans turn irretrievably into a thin soup of plastic.